Hi guys, in this video I'm going to lay out my thesis for why I think BitTensor and the Tau token is going to $100 billion by 2028. Yes, you heard that right. So let's jump in. If you're new here, I'm Rohit. I'm a chartered accountant, ex TradFi, and for the last 4 years, I've held multiple exec positions in crypto with companies like Socket, Polygon, and Longhash Ventures, which has given me a window seat to all of the innovation that is happening in the world of cryptocurrencies. After spending 4 years in the market, I came across BitTensor late last year, and since then, I've been mesmerized with this project. So I'm going to lay out my thesis and I'm going to walk you exactly why I think BitTensor is primed. It's primed to essentially go from $8 billion to $100 billion in the next 3 years. But before that, I want to lay out a quick disclaimer that nothing that I say here should be construed as financial advice, technical advice, or trading advice. Digital assets are inherently risky, and if you're going to invest money in any of the coins that I mentioned, then it's all on you. I will have no responsibility. With that, let's dive in. Okay, so before, when I was preparing for this video, I thought to myself, what has to be true for BitTensor to become a global AI company and a force to reckon with? And the more I think about it, and the more I think about Silicon Valley and all of the innovation that has happened in the last 30, 40 odd years, from the internet boom, the dot-com boom that happened in the late 90s till now, in the mid of 2025, we're now almost 25 years in. One thing that has not changed is that for an idea to germinate and become a global movement, three things have to be true. Number one is talent, right? You need access to a globally diversified and highly intelligent, highly trained, highly skillful pool of talent who understand the intricacies of working on complex problems and then finding solutions which can then be turned into technologies for global good. That's a consistent theme. You go back to the dot-com era and you will see the likes of Google and Amazon emerging, who came out with a very simple idea, right? All Google ever wanted to do was to organize the world's information and make it searchable. All Amazon ever wanted to do was to become the world's storefront. These are very simple ideas to articulate, and they had access way back in Silicon Valley to the exact talent pool. Whether it is venture capitalists who were willing to commit capital and bet on these risky innovations, whether it is engineers, product managers, marketers, all of these people congregated in the technology gold rush to take advantage of those situations. And when I think about what's happening in BitTensor, I think it's something very similar. In crypto, we've now seen the germination of the idea of network states. What is network states? This idea was first articulated by Balaji, who said now is the time that because of a trustless, communications financial system, we're now for the first time living in an era where all you need is your brain is all you need is your brain and a computer system to essentially change the world, and you can do that connected to the blockchain. And I buy that idea because what's really happening in the world of BitTensor is you have these AI founders, you have this large group of people, whether participating as validators or miners or subnet owners, coming together from virtually every part of the world and coordinating on this global network to create AI technologies. Right. I'm going to show you a few images that I found very interesting coming from the proof of coming. Sorry, let me just share my screen. Yeah, I'm going to show you a couple of images coming from the Proof of Truth conference that was just recently concluded in Paris. And you can see here Jacob Steves, who's the co-founder of BitTensor, literally addressing an almost packed gathering, interested to understand, what BitTensor is all about. Here's another one, which I found really interesting, right? You now have at least 3 dozen different companies building a variety of AI models, AI solutions, all the way from data pipelines to agentic AI, hosting models, tooling, scientific research, generative AI, distributed training, predictive systems, and what all and what not. So you can clearly see the divergence of talent that exists. You can clearly see the number of stakeholders that are coming together on the BitTensor ecosystem to make it happen. And that to me is the foundations of why I think this is extremely important. There's this one image that literally stood out to me, right? Which was this one. It was shared by somebody on Twitter, where on the left side you can see a Bitcoin conference 3.5 years into the creation of Bitcoin. So I'm assuming this is somewhere around 2012-13, and this is Tau virtually 3.5 years after creation of BitTensor, which was somewhere around late 20, early 21, and you can already see how much of a difference it is, right? And that to me is the first undercurrent that gives me the confidence to make the claim that Tau will be $100 billion plus, right? Because to make that happen, the first and the most foundational pillar is access to great talent. Now, the next most important thing when it comes to building a great institution, a movement, is capital. And there's two ways to think about this capital. The first is high risk capital. High risk capital usually comes from investors, mostly operating in the startup ecosystem. So this would be angel investors, folks like Naval Ravikant or Balaji or Ben Armstrong, and many of these crypto founders, Sandeep Nalwal and others. And the second set of capital comes from large institutions. This is your family offices. These are the BlackRocks of the world. These are large global giant corporations who have the wherewithal and the resources to really change the game. And that to me is the biggest turning point for BitTensor, because if you see some of the recent announcements that has happened, it's clearly indicating that institutional capital is not just coming, it's already here. And I want to start with this post from Grayscale. It was posted like 2 or 3 days back, where they were celebrating the first anniversary of the Grayscale BitTensor Trust, right? And so through this trust, it allows institutional investors, accredited investors, to buy an exchange traded product, which is indirectly investing in the Tau token, right? And this is incredible, guys, because for a company which is billions of dollars worth, like Grayscale, which runs the great Grayscale BTC ETF, to also now invest in the Grayscale BitTensor Trust shows incredible confidence in an early stage company. Next, there is this announcement by Synaptogenics, which is an American listed company, who has announced their plans to acquire $10 million of Tau for its treasury. And they plan to raise up to $100 million, guys. Yes, you heard that right. $100 million to invest in Tau. And you know what happened, guys? On this news, their stock jumped 40%. So, and that's not it, guys. There's Oblong, right? And this is Oblong. This is a NASDAQ-listed company. And they've recently announced their own plans to raise $7.5 million in private placement for a BitTensor-centric AI digital strategy. essentially they're going to invest in the Tau token. Finally, you have Barry Silbert. Barry Silbert is the founder of Grayscale. He's the founder of digital currency group, and he has recently created Yuma. Yuma is accelerating the adoption and growth of the BitTensor ecosystem by creating the financial guardrails necessary for adoption of the BitTensor ecosystem, the Tau token, and also each of the subnet alpha tokens by institutional investors. And he made some big claims at the Proof of Truth conference. He said, long story short, that Wall Street is about to flood into Tau. DCG is going to turn DCG turned Bitcoin into $1 trillion asset class, and they're copying the Bitcoin playbook to BitTensor. Guys, yes, you heard that right. They're copying the Bitcoin playbook to BitTensor. And here are Barry's exact words, which are extremely interesting. He says this idea of subnets and alpha tokens, we're seeing this explosion of projects, and we're about to see a tidal wave of capital flow not just into Tau, but it's going to become much easier to invest directly into these subnet tokens. And Yuma Group is about to launch an asset management business where they're going to be launching products that enable institutional investors to start investing in alpha tokens. So guys, this isn't just about crypto, right? This is about institutional investor. This is about building real world adoption of the BitTensor ecosystem, the subnets, the AI projects, and the alpha tokens, everything, guys. This to me is the second pillar, capital. Capital is extremely important. So we spoke about talent, we spoke about capital. What's next? What's the third bit? As I was thinking about as I was thinking about what the third pillar could be, I felt that capital and talent is only half the puzzle. The other half has something to do with tailwinds. These are invisible forces that are operating around us that are nudging us towards a certain direction. These could be technological, social, scientific, or any other kinds. And I think the arrival of artificial intelligence, now that this genie is out of the bottle, it's impossible to put it back. And because that genie is out of the bottle, we're already seeing a massive increase in AI spending, AI adoption. Every Fortune 500 company is now speaking about an AI strategy. Every educational institution is talking about an AI strategy. Every company in the world, from a startup to a creator to a large Fortune 500 company to the world governments, all of them are serious. They're talking about how do we win the AI race. That to me, guys, is the indelible, undercurrent which forces me to think that now is the time for the idea called BitTensor. And if I let me show you something which I found extremely interesting and something all of us probably think about quite a lot. Barry Silbert recently posted this survey where they polled 2,000 Americans on their preference for decentralized AI. Vast majority of the poll respondents, guys, almost 75% of 2,000 Americans, they believe decentralized artificial intelligence is more likely to support innovation and progress than centralized AI. Now, I want you to pause here and think about why they think 75, why does 75%, such a large population of, the polled candidates, feel decentralized AI supports more innovation and progress than centralized AI. And there are a bunch of reasons, guys. Let's talk about it one by one. The first reason is centralized AI imposes guardrails, right? So imagine here I am sitting in India recording this video. For me to go out there and work with OpenAI, I have, I have incredible hindrances. First, I need massive capital. It's impossible to raise massive capital, in a country like us. And so by default, 95% of the population is just sitting out of the opportunity of AI. B, it requires vast amount of capital to run an AI company because these models are expensive to train, they are expensive to run, they are expensive to deliver and keep always on. Which is why these companies are raising billions of dollars. Just take for example OpenAI. In the last 3 months, they have raised $40 billion, guys. $40 billion from SoftBank at a $300 billion valuation. Why? Because they need that kind of capital to sustain the services. Number two, access to a global talent. It's incredibly difficult in a centralized AI system for global talent to congregate and co create. And that to me is the biggest championing point for BitTensor because there are no guardrails, there's no, it's permissionless. Anybody can join, anybody can become a subnet owner, a miner, a validator, any role that they want, and start contributing to this distributed, decentralized vision of artificial intelligence. So for innovation to happen, for progress to happen, minds have to melt, global minds need to melt. And BitTensor makes it happen. Now, there are a bunch of other tailwinds as well, which I think position BitTensor at a very interesting juncture. And I'm going to talk about one which I think is extremely interesting, which is the global adoption of Bitcoin, guys. Today, I was looking at this data that 139 entities around the world hold 15% of the global Bitcoin in circulation, right? So out of this, you have exchange traded funds. So you have TradFi holding approximately 6.6%. You have countries around the world holding approximately 2.5%. You have listed public companies holding 3.7%. You have private companies holding 2%. And then you have, some BTC aligned mining companies and DeFi for the rest. And look at this list, guys. You have MicroStrategy, you have Riot Platforms, you have Tesla, guys. Elon Musk's Tesla, which is holding approximately 0.05 percent of BTC. You have Coinbase, Base, Metaplanet, Galaxy, GameStop. Like the list is endless, guys. This to me is a true tailwind because with BTC gaining mainstream adoption, not only has it paved the way for other cryptos to follow, but it has also allowed digital assets to gain market credibility amongst institutions, amongst corporations, amongst governments. It's just opened doors that were closed up until now. And that to me is an incredible move. There's another story that came recently, which is from Coinbase. Coinbase announced the Coinbase One card in partnership with American Express, which offers 4% Bitcoin back for every purchase. Guys, now you have companies like American Express, traditionally large global payment companies, partnering with a crypto native company to offer a crypto Coinbase card. You have the CEO of Shopify, one of the largest e-commerce platform companies, who is enabling USDC, which is a crypto stablecoin, in its checkout via Shopify payments. And so, in one go, millions of merchants and billions of buyers, consumers, customers around the world will be able to access crypto. So, guys, these are the tailwinds. These are the tailwinds that I'm talking about, which make BitTensor extremely special, right? So you have talent, you have a global talent pool coming together, you have minds merging, minds melting, ideas coming out, more innovation, more progress, more productivity. No more centralized guardrails, no more an open AI deciding the fate of billions of people by creating a artificial super intelligence or an artificial general intelligence. You have a pile of capital coming in, whether it is from institutions or market, other market participants. You have companies like Yuma, DCG, Cephalo, Oblong, all of them coming in, and finally you have these tailwinds. So put together, I think this is the trifecta of how you should think about BitTensor. I think in the next 3 years, not only are we going to see many of these different AI projects which are being built on top of BitTensor, creating new applications, new AI services, but they will offer those services at 99% less cost and global access from day zero. Guys, we're sitting at ground zero of this innovation, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.